Hello and welcome to your award-winning The Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke every single week through news and headlines ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I'm Daniel, and your other host this week, another Xbox fan, is Macio. Welcome back, Mace.
Appreciate it, man. Glad to be back. What up, bro cats?
We've got some gaming news, Warner Brothers Discovery stuff, but first, if this is your very first episode of the show, the way we format it is we go through this week's news, and then we end it with the more personal side of the show, what Macio and I have been up to since you last heard us. So let's jump right in and explore sector number 559. So this film continues to climb as the Super Mario Bros. Movie has broken another record by becoming the highest grossing video game film of all time. According to Variety, the movie has passed the $700 million mark at the box office, beating out other animated movies like Detective Pikachu, Sonic the Hedgehog. In spite of negative reviews, it continues to perform well in theaters. It is expected to become the biggest movie release this year, surpassing $1 billion in box office sales. Has not opened in Japan yet, and that will definitely help push it right over. So the $1 billion club, Macio, is this something that you expected this movie to do?
Honestly, I didn't know what to expect with the performance of this movie. I 100% knew that reviews were not going to make or break it just because it's Super Mario Bros. And so many people our age, we never got to experience a good Super Mario Bros. Movie. I know we had that one in the early 90s that is good for some good laughs. It's good for the memes. Being able to say oh, this person looks like a Goomba, and everybody knows that you're talking about the little ugly looking turtle thing from the 90s movie versus the actual game is just funny. But in the grand scheme of things, the movie was absolutely terrible, made by people that had nothing to do with Mario, didn't even know what Super Mario Bros. Were, besides John Leguizamo, I think his name is.
Yeah.
He seemed like he was the only one that actually knew what Super Mario was.
Which is ironic because he's the only one boycotting this new one.
Yeah, so it's good that it's performing like this. I actually just saw it on Sunday.
Oh, nice. What'd you think?
I enjoyed it. I mean, it wasn't, I'm not going to sit here and act like it was an incredible movie, but it was enjoyable. It literally had everything from the fucking games, down to the music. They even played when they were looking at the, spoilers, but when they were about to hop on and get on their Mario Karts, it even played the fucking music from when you're selecting the cart in the game. That's crazy. So it's just funny how they had pretty much every single thing from the games, from an overarching point of view, pretty much everything from the games in there. So I enjoyed it in that regard, but it wasn't a good movie, but it was enjoyable though. And it was quick. They didn't keep you in there for 2.5 hours. Maybe Marvel needs to take some notes. So
yeah,
I like that. I like that about the movie.
Well, the movie beat out most of the MCUs. They're all animated films as far as I'm concerned, because they CGI the shit out of all those actors. So they beat out a lot of those animated films too. The one thing that I don't know if it'll beat out is the animated movie Endgame or the animated movie Avatar 1 or 2. I guess we'll find out in the next month, but it's not something I expected as far as $1 billion. I know there was that controversy over Chris Pratt's voice, which I know some of the gamers were turned off by, but it turns out that it wasn't enough to keep them away. They still came out and saw it. Most of them, when they saw it, they were like, yeah, I mean, his voice wasn't the best, but the movie was great. So they were able to get over that and still enjoy it for what it was.
That was the thing with me. I didn't know what to expect with him. If he was going to even try to do a fake New York Italian accent, or if he was just going to go in there and be Chris Pratt. And that's actually better. It's literally better than doing the fake accent. So I enjoyed it. As I said, the point where I was like, oh, this shit is going to make money after the end, At the end of the movie, I'm outside waiting for my wife to, finish using the bathroom, whatever. And I noticed while I was in the movie, there was a family sitting to my left, and one of the adults, like during the movie, I could see like bright light coming from my left. And I looked over and the dude was just on his phone. I'm like, who the fuck just is chilling on their phone, like watching TikToks in a movie? And so at the end, I see that same family. He's waiting for his wife, his kids to get out the bathroom. And he's talking to one of the kids. And he's like, so did you catch anything that you didn't see the first 2 times? I'm like, damn.
Wow.
They already seen it 3 times. Like, dang. So the kids love it because they asked them to go and watch it for a 3rd time in a movie theater. So that's why he wasn't paying attention. He's like, man, I already seen this shit. Like, that's crazy to me. So I can already tell that this is going to be one of those movies like Frozen where the parents, after this leaves box office, this shit is going to sell a ton of copies.
It's going to do well on Blu-ray. It's going to spin off into, obviously, we're going to get a sequel. It would be nice if we got spin off of some of the characters, like a Donkey Kong movie, or you could even do a Rosalina, Peach. You could have Mario show up in all these spin-off films. I know last week we talked about Legend of Zelda and some of the other Nintendo franchises. Someone brought up a good point since then of, yes, there might be a Zelda, there might be a Kirby movie, but that there may not be a crossover. And this is a minor spoiler, but in the film itself, in Mario's world, these Nintendo properties are games. They're not real in his world. Do you think it's possible that they would cross over those franchises or not because they don't really exist in his universe?
I would say if this wasn't being run by Nintendo, like if they just gave the IP away, like Marvel did with like Spider-Man and stuff when they sold pieces of the IP away, if they did something like that, I would say yes, they would definitely cross over. But it seems like Nintendo is holding control over everything, and I don't think they want that to happen at all. Although it would make money if you had like a cameo, like if they just popped it in the trailer and people were like, oh shit, Mario's going to be in the Zelda movie. Let me bring my kids to watch that. They like Super Mario Brothers. Like I would feel like a Zelda movie wouldn't be as much of a like comedy feel good like kids movie as Super Mario Bros. If they went with that type of vibe, then they could put Mario in it, but I don't think that's what they're gonna go for. But definitely with like Kong, I could see them doing it with Kong and hell, even Kirby, even though that's not the same thing. But Kirby is gonna be a very like lighthearted, goofy kind of movie if they went that way. So I could see them just throwing Mario in there just for the fuck of it.
Well, I hope the conversation is happening at Illumination as they look at not only Super Mario Brothers 2, but more in the franchise. And hopefully they announce the sequel in the next month or 2 just to get ticket sales even higher. Like, oh shit, they already announced a sequel to this. And anyone that for some reason is still on the fence about it might go check it out. Box office is very strong.
I do want to sneak something in here. While I was in the movie theater, the trailers came on, and Illumination, they have another movie coming out this year. I'm like, what? How have we not heard any like Marvel type backlash from their like a CGI and animation people? Because they're fucking just cranking movies out. Like, how the hell do they have a movie coming out like 5 months later after they just finished doing a Mario movie? And I'm sure they got some Minion shit coming out next year. Like, they're cranking stuff out.
And the animation looks great. I bet you this movie will be nominated for next year's Oscars when it comes to Best Animated Film. Unless there's something bigger that does even better at the box office, they'll probably just give it the Oscar because the Oscars are trying to do more of like the populist type of win just to get more eyes on the awards. So this will probably take home the Oscars next year.
Oh, for sure. Especially music. It's gonna get a ton with the music.
Very polished movie, and definitely check it out if you haven't yet. If you're into Mario, you heard my thoughts last week, and Leo, he was like, yeah, he liked it a lot, but he's not begging to go a second time. Actually, my parents asked him. My parents asked him this week. They were like, Leo, do you want to go see the movie again? We haven't seen it yet. And he's like, no, you can go. He wasn't dying to go back, so that'll save me some money if he doesn't want the Blu-ray. Nintendo, as much money as they're making off of this film, are now making more money off of hackers Gary Bowser, who's a member of the hacking operation Team Executor, has been released from prison for good behavior after serving 40 months for helping to run a business that reportedly earned him over $300,000. However, Bowser's punishment is not over yet, as he has been ordered to pay Nintendo $10 million in damages, which he will likely never be able to fully repay. Nintendo can take 25 to 30% of his income for the rest of his working life to cover the damages. Team Executor is a group recognized for producing mod chips and performing jailbreaks on game consoles. I mean, they really dropped the fucking hammer on this guy, and Nintendo's not worried about how they look as far as PR. They don't give a shit. They will take the dude's money.
Yeah, this, honestly, man, this is fucking disgusting, dude. Like, the fact that, like, you could steal people's whole livelihoods as a corporation. You can finesse people. You can run weird pyramid schemes. You can scam investors. You can do so much shit as a corporation to like regular everyday people, and nobody even goes to prison. Maybe they get a couple $1 million fine, and that's it. This guy was pretty much a loser living in his mom's basement, selling $300,000. He was doing this for like years, and all he made was a little bit over $300,000. And this guy will literally never amount to shit, because there's no point for him to. Like, if he can't do anything that would make him like more than $10 million in the near future, he will literally be broke for the rest of his life. There's literally no reason for him to try to get a job, to try to earn any money. Not only is he going to get taxed by the government, he's getting taxed by fucking Nintendo. Like 25% of his income, when the guy wasn't doing anything with his life. I don't think he has like a college degree in that. He was just some dude in a basement cracking stuff. Like, no other company is going this crazy. I think the only one that might be is Grand Theft Auto, with like the guys making cheats, but that's cheats. This dude is cracking and doing jailbreaks and selling like mod chips and shit for old consoles. Barely, like, what are we talking about? That's what we're talking about. People are selling cracks right now for PlayStation, for Xbox. There's whole pirate groups for PC games, and none of them are looking at trying to hit dudes over the head like this. Like, this is nuts.
Plus all the emulators you can get, many of which are for Nintendo, and they just they go after everyone. But I don't know, man. This was a lot. Like you said, he's never going to pay that back. $10 million, and the damages are not worth $10 million as far as I'm concerned. But the fucking whatever lawyers they have every single time. There's like local card shops I remember that were running Smash Brothers tournaments, and because they use the image of Mario or the characters in their posters promoting that tournament, they like file legal action against these little mom and pop shops. And it's just like, it's kind of insane how much they go overboard. As far as, I get protecting your brand and your characters, but give me a fucking break. I mean, I'm afraid of, with my Pokemon tattoos, could they go after people with fucking tattoos? Will they then go after the shops? I mean, I'm sure they can. I don't know why they haven't with the way they're acting over this.
Yeah, it's going too far. Like, I can understand if they did this type of shit in Japan. Maybe that's like the culture over there, and that's fine. If you want to go crazy and go hard in Japan and go after stores selling like cracked ROMs or fake games where it's just like, it's not actually the game, it's like a cart or like a copied cart that's just like an emulated version or a modded version, that's fine. Do that shit over there where you might not get as much backlash. But I feel like Nintendo of America should be like, hey man, like over here, trust me, it's not that big of a deal, bro. You should not be going crazy trying to kill these types of dudes. It's not good PR. You shouldn't go after little small shops or go after people running tournaments, people that are streaming your game. Like, you shouldn't be going after these guys because they're not actually harming you. They're not doing anything bad to you. They're not putting bad PR against you. If someone plays a modded version of Pokemon to have fun on their stream, like that's not damaging Pokemon. That's not damaging Nintendo. Putting this guy basically in prison, like this is basically prison for the rest of his life. He's a slave to Nintendo for the rest of his life. He will never try to really work for real. And at any type of job he might get is probably going to be something where it's under the table doing some shady shit like this. Because there's no point for him to ever try to do something legal at this point, unless he could make $10 million.
Yeah, I mean, if I were him, that's probably what I would do. Work, I guess illegally or get paid under the table, that kind of thing. I mean, that's the only way you can live at that point without them taking 25, 30%. It's just trying to get paid tax-free money, just cash. And it sucks, man. And I don't know if they'll ever let that up as far as like, okay, after so many years, fine. But it sounds like they're serious.
Yeah, like at this point, he just has to get out of America. He has to go somewhere where they don't prosecute this type of shit and try to make money that way. Because this is like a testament. If you are doing any of this type of stuff, you cannot be in a country where they're going to actually do something about it. Because if you're living in somewhere like America, they will hit you over the head. They might not give you 40 months. And I think with this guy, coincidentally, with his last name, Bowser, like, they gave him that judgment, but they weren't going crazy on him at first, but he wasn't giving them any money. And then he still was running shit on the background, right? Like I vaguely remember that he got caught. They sued him. They won. They had this judgment and he wasn't paying them because he said, hey, I'm not making any fucking money. And then they found out that he was still doing like modding shit in the background. And then that's why he got the 40 months, if I remember correct. Like he didn't automatically get it off, like the 40 months off rip. It was because he wasn't paying. And on top of that, they found some shit out in the background, if I remember correctly. So it's like, of course he was still doing it. Like that's the only way he knew how to make money.
Hopefully, like you said, he's able to go to another country and just continue to earn some income that way. I mean, I'd almost have a resentment against him at this point. Like now I'm going to really mod your current shit or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Like at this point, he might as well just make the mod for the Switch and just put it out and be like, hey, man, I'm not making no money off of this, but this is how you mod that shit just to fuck them.
Yep.
Just to fuck them over.
Hide in China or something. Well, again, they are apparently still hurting for money, even with this, as there's more people going after Nintendo. An alleged theft of rare Fusion Strike Pokemon cards may have been solved after a photo of the cards being sold to a local card shop surfaced on a closed Facebook group for the TCG. So the shop's called Trading Card World. They became suspicious of the seller, who had concentrated a bunch of rare cards from one set, Fusion Strike. And when questioned about him, the guy straight up said he worked for the Pokemon card printing company. The shop then informed the Pokemon company, which recovered the stolen cards, calling it, quote, the largest return of stolen property to date, end quote. And the heist has also reignited accusations that the Fusion Strike set has some of the worst pull rates in modern Pokemon card history, though there's no evidence that the stolen cards had anything to do with the rarity of the cards. I remember the Fusion Strike set. Yes, we called it a bad set when I worked at the card shop. Like, this is not a great set. Yeah, there's nice cards in it, but the pull rates suck. Just wait for the next set. We just thought it was a regular bad set. But with the number of cards that were in here, I mean, he had thousands of them. You can see the photo online. Yeah. And I'm like, that will affect the pull rates. They just went, where did all these go? I don't know, but just seed the packs without them, I guess. Let's just keep selling them because the hype is still there for cards. People are still buying the boosters. And all these large retailers are demanding product. They don't give a shit about the pull rates. So they probably just put them out. I think this guy's probably a big reason why the pull rates are so bad. And also Pokemon Company for still putting them out anyway.
I wonder if he really did work for the card printing company or if he found a way, some other way. Like that, and that has to be it, right? Like there's no way he stole, unless he just straight up stole a ton of packs and just happened to get a zillion.
No way, not these
rare cards. So like the fact that they have a leak like that is crazy. For example, Apple, they have this problem where like certain like displays in their manufacturing process, like it has to be like 99% good. And anything under that 99% mark, they trash. And then like all the workers that work for these in those warehouses and those factories, they're getting paid nothing. So they just take the ones that are like 98%, 97%, and then they sell them to like shops that fix iPhone. Like, so I feel like maybe this might be one of those things where the guy doesn't get paid that much. Fuck it, let me just steal a whole bunch of cards, might as well. Or if he was just running the printer after work, like his shift's already over, he just ran a couple more just so he can steal them. Like, this is very, very crazy. And the funny thing is, they got the cards, but they never got the guy.
No, they turned them over to the Pokemon Company, is what I saw. They haven't put out more details about this. This apparently happened a few months ago, but the story just now broke because the Pokemon Company asked the shop to not tell anyone about it until they were ready. So I'm assuming they have the guy, there's a case, and now they're like, okay, now you can put that story out. Because obviously legality, maybe they can't prosecute him, or they wanted to know if for sure he worked there. There was probably a lot of questions that they had first before they wanted the story to run.
This guy's lucky if the only thing that happens to him is he just gets fired.
He now has to pay the Pokemon Company 25%. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's really stupid. I've worked at shops where people come in, they sell stuff. If it looks suspicious, I would start asking them questions. I would just act like, oh, yeah, I'm making calculations and I'm finding out stuff. And then I'll start asking them like, oh, why are you selling these? Or where'd you get these? That kind of thing. And they always tell me. And this guy also told him straight up. Like, I've never had as dumb a answer as this one, though, where I work at the printing company and I have all these. I mean, that alone, any shop that's half competent would be like, fuck that, I'm not taking these cards. I'm going to report them or even just turn them away.
They're fake.
That's another thing, yeah.
Like, they're not giving you cards, dude. Like, you either stole them or these are fakes. Like, these are the shit that you made. They're bad batches that didn't pass. Like, there's something with them. I'm not about to try to inspect them all. Like, you're good, bro. But he took them though, right? Like, how else would he been able to turn them over? He took some of them in.
I guess so. Yeah, if he reported the guy, I don't know what the whole deal was, but we'll get more, I'm sure, as trading card world goes more public with what actually happened. And I guess if I were him, I don't know, maybe the guy just wanted money fast as much as possible, but I mean, you piece this stuff out. You try to sell it on eBay over time, and yeah, it's going to take you a lot longer, but you're going to be able to sell this stuff without bringing too much suspicion to yourself. If he had done it that way, if he had pieced it out or had some family members or friends sell it to other shops, I don't know how you get rid of that large amount of cards. Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest problem.
So long. Then, like, you would have to do new accounts, because if that same account just happens to keep selling all these rare cards just from this one set, it's like, man, how the hell did you get all of these out of one set? Nobody has them.
Yeah, exactly.
Or they might have one or two, but you've been selling the same cards over and over and over again for the past like 5 months. So you would have to do like a new account, have multiple accounts, all these different people selling, but then it would be like a bunch of people selling the same cards from the same pack around the same time, living in the same area. Like, it would still, I feel like they'd still kind of piece it together.
Well, he may be the reason why there's one gigantic max Gengar card in there that goes for over $100 on cool stuff. And I'm like, I wonder if he hadn't done this, if that price would be lower. It's on my wish list and I'm waiting for like a good sale or for it to go down in price. But yeah, that's the one set in this set. There's also a Mew card that people love that they want it from there, but it's because the pull rates, man, they're terrible. Not a lot of people have these cards, so it drives the prices up. And I'm sure this doesn't help things, but that may be the answer. Maybe the Pokemon Company will do a reprint of this set now that the story's out. They've been known to do that. That'd be good, but we'll find out. We have someone from Xbox who is actually making a pretty big move to an unexpected company, as Joseph Staten, who previously worked as a director and a writer for Xbox's Halo series, has joined Netflix Games to develop a new AAA video game franchise across multiple platforms. So Staten left Microsoft, where he most recently served as the creative director on Halo Infinite, and has now become the creative director for the forthcoming project at Netflix. While details on the new IP are slim, it represents a significant move for Netflix, which has been trying to establish itself more heavily in the gaming industry. So this move sends a clear message that Netflix is investing more in the AAA development space. With him on board, do you have high hopes for Statton's upcoming project?
I'm not 100% sure. So, and this is the difficulty with Netflix games. Seems like the only leeway, the only crack in the armor that they have so far is on mobile. So I don't know what AAA video game they're gonna make that's also a mobile game. But if I'm Microsoft, I have my eyes open, paying attention to what Netflix is doing. They have some of the best cloud infrastructure in the game right now, and Microsoft is in last place. If you're a new player in this space, you're not going to try to take out Sony or Nintendo. You're trying to take out Microsoft. So this is a problem for Microsoft. They should be wondering what the fuck they're doing and how to make sure that they don't encroach into their space, whether it's through cloud gaming or coming out with a console. And remember, there was one of those documents with the FTC where they mentioned that there might be a new console coming out from a new player. I don't know if they were speaking on Netflix. It would make sense for Netflix. They could use a console that could also be like a Fire Stick type device that could be a cloud gaming thing. It could also be just an actual gaming console where you can also access Netflix through it. So that could be their wedge in. But if I'm Microsoft, I'm paying attention to this. Joseph Staten was one of the key pillars of Halo 1 and key creative design guy in regards to the whole IP. So that is a good get. And Netflix wants some form of, I would assume, some form of big sci-fi or just a big series in general that they could also flip into a show, to a movie, into whatever. They don't want it to only just be a video game. So this, I like the move by Netflix. I kind of felt like Staten was going to do something like this because they moved him off of Halo to just be under Microsoft, which makes no sense because he wasn't doing really much of anything when he was just under Microsoft. So once they made that move, I kind of felt like he was going to be gone pretty quickly. And it's literally like 2 months later, he's working under Netflix. So this is definitely something you should look out for. I don't have any high hopes at all because Netflix games have made nothing. They've bought some companies that have made good games in the past, but they haven't really done nothing currently to make me want to believe that they're going to do anything worthwhile now.
It's tough to get into the space, but you had mentioned maybe a sci-fi project that they can then flip into a movie or a show. Well, how about a sci-fi movie that they already have called Rebel Moon that they could work on and turn into a mobile game or a AAA video game? There's your sci-fi game right there.
Yeah, that's true. If it's hot like we think it's gonna be, that could definitely be one. And I believe Zack Snyder has mentioned that he thinks it could be a game too, right? I believe I remember hearing that. So
he said it's going to be a game, but then he cleared it up and said that it's going to be a board game, like an RPG. Hey, but it would have been good if he had said gaming. I mean, if they do Rebel Moon 2 and 3, I mean, there's your space right there for maybe another project. I don't know if this is the one that Statton's working on. Probably not, because Rebel Moon comes out in December. And he just joined Netflix, I believe, so they would have had to do a lot of work, but maybe for the sequels.
Yeah, and that's the thing where I'm like, it is so hesitant because, again, a AAA video game, these take at bare minimum 2 years. So we're talking about 2025 bare minimum. And it seems like nowadays, AAA games are taking closer to 3 to 4 years. Mm-hmm. So bare minimum 2025 or possibly 2026, 2027. And then you add on the factor that a lot of these companies are cutting costs. So why is Netflix trying to incur costs? Pretty much every single gaming company and tech company are all chopping off workforce. They're doing massive layoffs. Netflix pretty much only makes very like razor thin margins, or they lose money pretty much every quarter. And content is just getting more and more expensive. So this is kind of odd that they're going with this. Especially a lot of their moves have been all on the indie game side, because those are games that come out faster, have a bigger profit margin because it costs less to make. So it's very odd that they're going for a AAA game when they haven't really proven to even do indie games or AA games very well. So it's weird all around. I don't know what they're doing over there, but that's definitely like a good get. Like, I don't know who else they would pay to do this kind of job.
Well, you had said some of these games can take 3 to 5 years, unless you're James Gunn, because apparently he says that these DC games are coming out when his movies come out in 2024, 2025. He's like, no, they only take 2 years. That's what he said. Yeah, he is. He's like, they only take 2 years to make. What's the problem? It's like, what are you talking about, dude? Oh, man. Yeah, and this is proof right here with Rocksteady's game. They're pros at this, and even then, they've had delays. They've announced that the release of the game, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, has been pushed back to February of next year. So previously, reports had indicated that the game would be delayed until late 2023, but the developer has opted for a more substantial delay. The reasons for this have not been specified, but Rocksteady stated that they need more time to deliver the best quality experience to players. The game has already received negative feedback following its state of play in February. It was originally scheduled to release last year in 2022. People speculate that since it is pushed even further back, that they are removing some of those criticisms, like having to be online all the time, or some of the loot box type of mechanics that they were talking about. Do you think that that's the case? I mean, with all this negative feedback, I would think that they are going to improve on some of those features.
Yeah, definitely. They could easily, in that year, they could get rid of the online only. They could get rid of the loot box mechanics. My thing is the core gameplay a lot of people complained about. It wasn't only the loot box or the loot mechanics. It wasn't only the online only portion of it. It was just the gameplay didn't give you that feeling like I'm playing as 4 different versions or 4 different members of the Suicide Squad. It felt like I'm playing 4 different skins. It's the same movement, the same powers for the most part, just with a different skin. So that's the core issue with the game. The graphics look good. Just the gameplay just doesn't make sense. I don't know that a year is enough time to make good enough changes. And my issue with the game was what we know what Rocksteady is good at. We know that they're good at Arkham, that the gameplay is key, but they were also good at making the atmosphere of Batman well. And we didn't get that same charm, that same care, the atmospheric experience when we watched that state of play with Suicide Squad Kill Justice League. So that is my issue. And I don't know that they can fix all of that in a year. They have a lot of work to do. Like, this game was supposed to come out in 2022, and now it's 2024. This is at this point about a 6-year game, 6-year dev cycle, which is insane. But it has to be a hit because Gotham Knights didn't do well. So this has to be the hit. Otherwise, they spent 5 years on Gotham Knights, 6 years on this game, and then they got 2 duds out of it. They're gonna at that point they're gonna be looking at selling off Rocksteady. Like, this has to do well.
I don't know if Warner Brothers Discovery owns them, but you're right. I didn't expect this to be the project that then leads them into like a Superman game or anything like that. I think Warner Brothers Discovery is cutting costs, as they have been, by canceling these projects, rightfully so, a lot of these especially. But with Rocksteady, it's like, okay, this is Warner Brothers sunk a lot of money into Rocksteady and into those Arkham games. So Warner Brothers Discovery is going, this is the last one, especially after all these delays. I bet you Rocksteady moves on to a non-Warner Brothers IP after this. Maybe we would have gotten that next DC open world game, maybe the next Arkham game, if they had stuck around. But as we now know, based on their plans, James Gunn said that all the games and the movies are going to involve the actors from his cinematic universe. So as far as I know, that Wonder Woman game is going to be the last Elseworlds type of video game. Everything else they want to align to the films. I don't know what developers they're going to get to work on these fantasy fucking games that I still don't think exist. But Rocksteady, I truly believe this
they
is
need
the
to be
last
done
DC.
now.
Exactly.
They need to be done now. You can't just whip it up at the end, like, especially if all these movies are supposed to be coming out in the next 2 years.
Right.
And the scripts aren't even done. So how are you going to make games based off?
No, he just took a picture of that one Superman script yesterday. What are you talking about?
It's like,
he just turned it in.
It's a joke. It's a fucking joke, dude. And the problem with this game with Rocksteady right now, and a lot of these studios, they were working on these games based off of what they thought players want to play, instead of just making a game that they think that they want. And that's the problem with a lot of game development right now. They're saying, oh, people want Call of Duty. Let's try to make Call of Duty. Let's try to make Warzone. Let's try to make Fortnite. Instead of saying, hey, let's just try to make our game. Like, let's just try to make a good game, a highly polished, almost close to bug free as you possibly can, with whatever type of atmosphere, whatever type of gameplay you're trying to make. And let's do that. Like, those are the games that are winning right now. Like Diablo, the new Diablo. They didn't say, oh, let's go try to make, the Battle Pass Fortnite. Like, we're trying to make Diablo and bring it into the modern times. That's what they did. A lot of these game developers, they said, oh, we'll try to do, people like the Destiny type of loot gameplay, always online gameplay. Let's make that. And then they started the development based off that. And then within the 2 years that they're developing the game, people stop playing those games. We don't even like those games no more. The only games that do well are just Destiny, like the original games that people played. Every single game that tried to be Destiny after Destiny has failed. Avengers, Gotham Knights. Now this game looked like it was about to fail. Division 2, like, all those games no one's playing. They only play Destiny. That's it. All the rest of the online, always online games, Anthem, all of them died day one when they released.
And they recently flopped too with multiverses. They're like, let's make our Smash Brothers. We've got characters.
Yeah, like, just make a freaking game that's original. Like, that's what Arkham Asylum was. There was no game like Arkham Asylum when that came out. That's why we gravitated towards it. Same thing even with Spider-Man, like that Sony PlayStation Spider-Man. That there was no other game like that when it came out. People gravitate towards that. So you got to make a game that's just good. It's good. It's polished. It has good, fun gameplay, but make it original, and people will play that. You're supposed to make the game that developers want to copy, because if you try to make the copy and you don't capture the essence of what made the original, then it's just going to flop. And you're going to be sitting there holding a $200 million bag. Like, what happened? I thought gamers liked this. I thought they liked this type of game. It's like, no, we just like that game. We don't like this type of game. We like that game. So we're going to keep playing that game.
Yeah, I mean, you could almost argue, though, that the Arkham game was based on, at least Arkham City was sort of based on Spider-Man 2, right? An open world, you're a superhero, you go around, you stop crime. But it was done in modern world, much bigger with today's tech, more things going on in the city.
And a better combat system.
A much better combat. Actually, the combat system, I would say that's original to that game. I don't think I can think of any other game that had that before Arkham. And since then, funny enough, the Sony Spider-Man game then did an Arkham type of game and ended up being pretty successful.
Yeah, yeah.
Best of luck to them, man. I don't know. We'll see what happens out of Suicide Squad. but at least we know that gamers are willing to forgive when they perceive that the industry or the publisher, the developer has gone ahead and listened to feedback and made changes. It seems like they're pretty receptive to that, I've noticed. And we do have some MCU news this week, which is always a good thing. Actor Jonathan Majors, you may have seen this shared on our Discord, known for his roles in Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, and Creed 3, is reportedly facing multiple allegations of abuse from new victims who are cooperating with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. It is unclear how many women have come forward and what new allegations they may have against him. Majors was previously arrested last month on charges of strangulation, assault, and harassment following an altercation with an unnamed woman in New York City. So that incident led to the woman's hospitalization with minor injuries to her head and neck. Majors has been dropped from several upcoming projects and parted ways with his management and PR firms due to, quote, issues of the actor's personal behavior, end quote. He is currently still set to appear in his MCU role in the second season of Loki, but this guy was, from what I understand, I'm very loose MCU over here, just whatever I pick up on Twitter and when I make fun of the MCU sheep, but he was being set up, Kang, as the next big bad in the MCU, as the Phase 5 or whatever they're on. He was going to be the one that they lead into. And now with these allegations coming through, they either recast or they're now rewriting and saying, well, what other character do we have that's like Kang? All right, just make it him. You know, they don't give a shit. They'll easily replace the character. Oh, yeah. But for him, I mean, this seems like it's big news. We were a little confused when the PR firm dropped him a few days before this. But then when more women were coming out, we suspect, at least I do, that the PR firm heard or knew that this was coming and they went, all right, let's get ahead of it and just drop him now.
Yeah, it's the PR firm. I don't know if any of these alleged new cases are, if they're going to form up and go after him legally, or if there's like new cases where like they went to whatever blog, TMZ, anyone that wanted to write something about this and just said, hey, I'm going to tell you my story. And then it's about to get published. And of course, any publication is going to go to the PR and say, hey, this is the story we got coming. What's your comment? And they probably were like, wait, what? Like,
yep.
You know, Jonathan told us like it was just this one guy. Clearly it was a lie because they got that case completely dropped. Maybe they paid off the girl. I don't know. But they cleared that shit up quick. Like for them to just be like, yeah, nah, we're good. Pack it up. This looks bad. And now Marvel is in that Ezra Miller type of situation where they're like, do we keep going? Or like, is it too late? Do we recast? Do we find a way to make Kang's appearance change? And we just get a new actor? Do we just do a whole different character completely? Like they're in a lot of binds with a lot of these guys. And I'm sure they have crazy clauses in a lot of these contracts where they're like, hey, if you fuck up to the point where we got to get rid of you, like whatever profit sharing or XYZ stuff that we have on the side, whatever money in your contract that we're supposed to pay out, like you're not getting it because this shit goes deep. Like if you're supposed to be in like 4 or 5 more movies and you're like a main character and then you go ahead, you punch a kid in the face or you rape a woman or you steal a bunch of money or anything that could make Disney look bad, they're gonna be like, we gotta get rid of you. We have to.
I'll solve this for Disney right now, Macio. You just continue on. You just have them in the movies because you gotta remember, all of their fans are okay with an alleged pedo still making movies. True. They're okay with all those tweets, which are as bad as if some would argue worse because there's kids involved as what Jonathan Majors is doing. So, I mean, clearly they're okay with that behavior. So I would just be like, no, just keep doing it because people don't get mad enough. They want their comic shit, their superhero movies. So we're not really going to run into a lot of problems.
Yeah, like they could literally keep going as long as it stays alleged. Like if nothing ever comes out, if there's no concrete proof to say like, oh, these things happen, because that's all they did with with James Gunn. Like James Gunn, it was just, well, it's just tweets. And then people are like, yeah, they're tweets, but like, what about the guy that was at a party that was hooked up with him?
There's two.
That was literally a pedophile. Then
Yes.
it was the other guy that also was there, and he was actually a pedophile. And it's the tweets. Man, this looks kind of crazy, right? And all it took was all the actors basically saying, yo, we're not doing a movie unless James Gunn directs it. Like, what now? And they're like, but it makes money. So sure, like bring him back. Like it's insane. Like literally insane that the shit is that's still going on. But they could just throw it under the rug, just act like the tweets don't exist, like those guys weren't actually pedophiles, like his party wasn't named in a court case. They got basically dead to rights. The only thing they haven't found was like actual evidence of him committing something on like a laptop or getting caught up in a pedophile suite, like one of those child porn sweeps that they usually catch like 30 to 40 people in. So he's pretty much dead to rights. Besides that, with Jonathan Majors, they got something dropped, but all these alleged cases, they need to come to light. It has to be like a Deshaun Watson type situation where all of these women, they just come out and straight up say like, this is what happened to me. I'm filing a lawsuit. And the scary thing is what if all these women filed like criminal complaints? Like they actually went to the cops, but the cops just didn't do anything with it. They could say, hey, I don't pull the, oh, I'm bringing this up years later. Like I went to the cops and they just shrugged me away. Like, oh, well, it's an actor. Like you don't have proof. Like, how do we know you're not just a slut, or, you know, all the type of shit. Like when cops don't really want to investigate shit, they just victim blame you. Like it happened to me when I got robbed. They were just like, I mean, but why didn't you call faster? Because they stole my phone. Like, what are we doing? Like, when the cops don't want to investigate some shit, they come up with hella reasons why they shouldn't. So, especially with rape cases, they lose rape kits every day. Like, there's thousands of rape kits that just disappear. So,
that's crazy.
When you got shit like that going on, like, it's no wonder that he could get away with raping multiple women, allegedly.
Well, if you're an MCU fan, let me know if you care at all.
They don't.
The answer is no. They just want Kang. They suddenly care about Kang.
Like they need video proof. Like they need to see him dragging a woman, like a drunk woman passed out, like naked, before they're like, all right, well.
But that was a long time ago. That was months ago. He's grown. He's changed.
And look, he looks so nice with Michael B. Jordan all hugged up. He's a good guy.
Well, now we move into the other side, from Disney over to Warner Brothers Discovery, as they have launched This Is What I Did Not Want. And I talked to several of the hosts about this, and we all kind of unanimously agreed that HBO is a fucking brand, that companies kill for that kind of recognition. Warner Brothers Discovery threw that in the fucking trash. They're relaunching the HBO Max service as just Max, which will include content from a range of brands, including Warner Brothers, HBO, HGTV, Food Network, Cartoon Network, and TLC. So initially they said, no, we're going to keep Discovery separate, and I think they still are, but now the plan is to have some of the things from the Discovery app onto Max and then raise the price. So the service will launch on May 23rd and offer 3 pricing tiers, including a $9.99 month option with ads, a $15.99 month ad-free option, and a $19.99 month ultimate plan, which, what the hell does that mean? Turns out it means 4K streaming. Bad marketing. Bad marketing, man. The platform plans to offer a diverse mix of programming, including news and sports programming, which I know HBO Max is lacking those two, so they're putting that into it. Is this the new company trying to put its stamp on the streaming service, saying that HBO stuff was Warner Brothers, the old regime, we need to carve our own path, so we're calling it Max? Is that what this is? Just a big circle jerk?
I think so. It's bad all around. One, I know people also, this was one of their problems. I remember you brought this up way back in the day when they first announced HBO Max about, when people think HBO, they automatically think adult content. But I feel like a lot of people, when they hear HBO, they just think of good content.
Yeah.
They think of The Wire, Game of Thrones, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Veep. Like they think of about all these good shows, and HBO is known to just have amazing shows, amazing content. And they're taking that and just knocking it to Max. Nobody knows what Max is. If you didn't have HBO before, you don't know now. And the pricing options, I don't know about you, Dan. At this point, why the fuck? The only reason I have a 4K fucking TV is for Blu-rays and video games. Because I don't have 4K streaming on anything. I don't have it on Hulu. I don't have it on HBO now. Mm-hmm. I don't have it on Netflix, because all of these guys are charging insane amounts of money to watch some shit in 4K. So I'm watching everything in 1080p. Why do I have a 4K TV? It's quite literally a waste of money, because you can't watch anything in 4K unless you buy it.
Am I alone in this? Because I don't know about you, and maybe it's my age range. The jump from DVD to Blu-ray, massive improvement, right? It was like day and night. Yes. I could see that. But with 1080p to 4K, I personally cannot tell the difference. I have a 4K TV, and I've put on 4K content on there, but to me, it just looks like 1080p. I don't know. Am I wrong in that? Is it that much of an improvement?
It looks sharper, but when it's streaming, a lot of these services don't use high enough bit rates. So when you if you watch like something on streaming in 4K versus the Blu-ray blows it out of the water every time. It always looks better. But streaming wise, most of these companies don't use high enough bit rates. So you can really only see it if you're up close. And unfortunately for me, I only sit about 6-ish feet away from my TV, and it's 55 inches. So I can tell the difference when I'm watching 1080p versus 4K. But if I was sitting further away, I probably couldn't tell. But at this point, it's ridiculous, man. Like pretty much every single streaming service now, you got to pay at least $20 to watch shit in 4K. I don't think they're not going to get a boost in subscribers. No. I think that they're hoping that the cheap $10 a month with ads is going to get it for them, but I don't think it is. And the one thing I saw in that press release, the ad-free option still has fucking ads.
No shit.
Still
really?
Has ads. Yes. Because they said the ultimate plan, not only does it have 4K streaming, it's truly ad-free. So there's, I guess the ad-free option, the $15.99, still might have like HBO ads in them. Like before you watch something, it's like, hey, this thing is coming out, this thing's coming out. That's still an ad.
Are you talking about the thing you can skip?
Yeah. So I guess the ultimate version will have like literally no ads. Like they won't even bullshit you and put that kind of stuff in. So I don't know, man. Like this shit is stupid. The rebrand is dumb. Max as a whole sounds terrible. Oh, I'm going to hey, put it on Max. Like what? Terrible, man.
Not a good move. Literally anything else would have been better. HBO Discovery, HBO Warner. They were apparently playing around with that too. Warner Brothers Max. I'm like, even Warner Brothers Max, fine. Like at least there's some recognition there. Like people know what Warner Brothers is. Max is generic, man. People are going to think, the general audience is going to think, the consumer, like, oh, this is another streaming service. Like you were saying, the people that don't have HBO Max or don't know what HBO Max is, they don't know. They just think this is yet another, and they're tired of it. You hear it all the time. Yeah. People are like, oh, another fucking streaming service. You already have, it's too late to jump into the game.
Like you have to explain to people that have HBO on their cable service. Like, yeah, you still get Max. Even though HBO isn't in the name, you still have it. Yeah, you're like, who's doing all? If you have to explain it, then it's already shitty.
Yeah, I got the email that told me that, like, hey, your thing is switching over to Max. Everything's the same. Pricing is the same up until I'm assuming my year runs out, because I pay by the year, and that's probably when I'll have to pay I'll do the $15.99 a month. Fuck that 4K shit. If it's the same supposed ad free, I don't mind the skipping of the ads, that's fine, but $20 a month is a lot. $15.99 I know I'm paying I think $12.99 right now with the year plan, so it's a few dollars more. it's just, I'm still a consumer. I'll still subscribe to it. There's stuff that I want to watch on there. Like you were saying, Kirby Enthusiasm, the new Game of Thorns, all that stuff. But I would not jump into this if I were that consumer. They should have kept HBO in there. It's a weird move, man. Zaslav, this is like one of 3 terrible moves he's done so far.
Yeah, like the whole thing with HBO is with Warner Brothers, it's just been like a slow drain around the toilet. Like ever since AT&T bought them, it's like everywhere it goes, nobody knows what the fuck to do with it. Whether it's they don't know what to do with DC, they don't know what to do with the streaming services, how to set it up, how much money to spend, what to spend it on. Now you got this guy, and it's, to me, it seems like he's doing is just trying to cut the company down into however many pieces it can be, like make it as small and efficient as possible. And he's going to be like, this guy's not going to be CEO in like 2 more years. It's going to be a whole different guy again, and they're going to do whatever they want to do. Like I can already tell like that's where this is going.
Yeah, that's definitely been his plan. But I thought it was going to be like a 10-year plan, right? He has mentioned that this is a 10-year thing. But I think you're right. I think that accelerated, and he's going to try to flip it to Comcast as quickly as possible. Comcast is the player. Yeah. They're the ones who want to buy this.
Yeah, like you can tell the certain moves that certain CEOs make, whether they're trying to be there for the long haul or not. Like he says it's a 10-year plan, but he's not moving like it's a 10-year plan. The moves that he's making, like if it's a 10-year plan, you're not trying to cut costs as much as possible.
Right.
Because you're assuming that you're going to make money. He's running the company like it's consistently losing money. So I need to find ways to make that either as less money as possible, or I need to just cut costs as much as possible. So we're still making a profit. Like, we're making a profit. And it's like, well, you're making a profit, not because you're making a lot of money, because you're just not losing a lot. So that's how he's moving with the company. Like Satya Nadella, he's been the CEO of Microsoft, I want to say 10 years now. If it hasn't been that, it's like 7 or 8. And you could tell by the moves he made, he was like contemplating, do I cut Xbox? And then he was like, no, I don't cut Xbox. I put money into it because this can grow our company. And all the moves he made, the only move that he made to cut was, let me get rid of Windows Phone. This shit doesn't make any money. And then he just boosted up everything else. He poured more money into Surface. He poured more money into Xbox. He poured more money in the cloud. And now look at where Microsoft is. They're pouring money into ChatGPT. Like that's the type of stuff that you do. Like, where is the money going with this merger, with the Warner Brothers Discovery merger? Like It's going into DC, into some fucking properties that nobody knows anything about. Paying James Gunn to that slate of movies that James Gunn pitched, that should have been an automatic no. And the only reason that it's a yes is because they're like, but we can make it for cheap. Like that's what they're thinking.
Plus, who else wants that fucking job? Yeah.
So at this point, like they're doing stuff to cut costs and they're trying to sell. What should be eye-opening is, does the FTC even allow them to get bought by Comcast? Because if they let that happen, they let a Warner Brothers Discovery merger happen so that it can get merged into an even bigger company. Like that's insane.
That's 4D chess right there.
Yeah. And that's why I think it's going to work. They cut down as much as they can so they can make it seem like it's not as big as it really is.
Exactly right, man. I think you solved it. That's what's going to happen.
2 years.
So Gunn's movies may not even happen then. Maybe we'll get 2 of them and then they'll decide to axe them. Who knows? After they flop, because I'm sure they will. But something that did get officially announced, and this I do think is a good move, but we talked about it 2 weeks ago. It was a rumor. Now it's official. Warner Brothers has announced a new Faithful, is what they're calling it, TV adaptation of J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter books, with Rowling serving as an executive producer. So HBO and Max Content CEO Casey Bloys has refused to address concerns over Rowling's history of transphobia, calling it, quote, a nuanced and complicated, end quote, online conversation not suited for Q&A. Bloys stressed the show's focus on the positive themes of love and self-acceptance, and confirmed that Rowling's insight would be helpful in the production. This, I got to give it to Blois, man. This was probably the best answer you could give if you were going to give an answer of we're not going to talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. Don't talk about it. Like it's stupid to say anything. Like you can't say, "Oh, we don't agree with Rowling's opinions about trans people, transgender." Like you can't, because then people are going to say, "Well, why do you have her on the project?" And they don't have a choice. If they're doing anything Harry Potter, they have to have her on the project. I'm pretty sure like that's the stipulation. Anything that she has that has to do with Harry Potter, she has to have some form of input into it. So they don't have a choice. Plus, they pretty much think that she's the lifeblood of Harry Potter. And when she has minimal input, things don't go as well. So they might as well just throw her in there. So that was a masterful dodge. Just, hey, man, it's nuanced, it's complicated. We're not going to talk about it. And we'll just show you on the show that it's going to be very inclusive.
Boom.
Boom. Like you can't get mad at it. And that's the best way to avoid the quote unquote boycott. Like this shit is gonna, all it takes is one good review, and everybody's back on the Harry Potter train.
Oh, they're all going to watch this.
Yeah.
And look at how well that boycott worked on Legacy, Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah. Yeah. Then you can't boycott something when you were never probably going to play it in the first place. Like, was I supposed to believe like everybody in the transgender community was about to play this game? Like it's the same thing with any real boycott. Like when they tried to boycott Nike with the whole Colin Kaepernick thing, and it's like half of you motherfuckers weren't buying Nike shit. You were going to the outlets and getting shit for $10, man. Like they don't miss your sale. And then guess what? At the end of the day, give it 1 year, give it 2 years, give it 3 years. You're right back in buying fucking Nike. Like they're doing it right now with the Bud Light. I give them like 3 months. They're going to be right back on the fucking Bud Light. Like these guys, you guys were all complaining about Hogwarts Legacy. You're going to boycott the game. You were never buying the game in the first place. You don't play games. And then the 5 or so 6 people that might have been interested in buying the game or would have bought the game or what have you, like, okay, that's going to be drowned out by all the good reviews and all the good word of mouth. And then those people being like, damn, man, J.K. Rowling, man, she said some shitty things about transgenders, but damn, this game is fire. Like,
well, even the developers were like, yeah, we don't condone her behavior, so we're doing this largely separate from her. Like they did that to where smartly we're like, we don't agree with her either, but we're just trying to make the best game. And that was enough for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's all you got to do, man. Like just ignore that shit. There's no point to bother with it. Like just go ahead and ignore it. Just put out the content and people will watch. If it's good or if the game's good, the show is good, people are going to watch it. When it has this big of a fan base, like people are going to watch it.
Yeah, Scott points it out all the time. Just go right here in Orlando, go to Universal Studios, go to the Hogwarts lands, and it's always packed, always busy. Yep. People are buying the shit out of the merch. Leo, my brother, and I were just there, and my brother went there to see what this year's 2023 wand was. I don't know. Every year they release, I guess, a special edition wand. And he was like, oh shit, it's out already. And he fucking picked one of those up. He dropped easily like a little under $100 on Harry Potter merch, along with everyone else in that fucking shop. Yep. I mean, it's insane.
You don't know how much Orlando Pride shit I've seen with like a person rocking a rainbow flag and they got a fucking Harry Potter Gryffindor shirt. Like it's inevitable, dude. Like you got that big of a platform. This is people's childhoods. Yeah. Like they remember that. They don't care. They don't care. Like they condemn the person, but they're not condemning the work. Like they like the work. So and I guarantee you, if she dropped a book tomorrow, it's selling. Yeah. It's selling. Like we would be hearing about it everywhere.
Yeah, and I've seen people justify it on Twitter. They're like, I just pretend Daniel Radcliffe is the creator, and I no longer acknowledge her. It's like, okay, you're still paying her. Like, it's, all right.
She's still making money. She's still making money either way.
Yeah, and that's going to be the case, as you were saying, until they buy her out, which is not going to happen. If I were her, I mean, as much fire she's into, she knows how much money that shit's worth. And I don't think you could pay enough with how hot Harry Potter is right now. You could not put a price on it to buy her out. I don't think. You can't George Lucas her. But we were talking about James Gunn earlier, and this brought up a pretty big debate again over voice acting in the industry. The upcoming animated series by alleged pedo Gunn called Creature Commandos, which apparently some quote-unquote real DC fans are more excited for the Creature Commandos than seeing the Justice League take on Darkseid. So this all sparked a debate. The series is the first project under DC Studios' policy that voice actors for animated series would also play their physical counterparts in live-action productions. So this policy has caused some voice actors to feel undervalued and nervous about job opportunities being taken by those without voice acting experience. Tara Strong, who voices Raven on Teen Titans Go, she spoke out against the mindset that celebrities would automatically be great voice actors, arguing that voice actors should be judged on their ability to perform the role. So this kind of goes back a little bit to the Mario thing of why didn't they get voice actors for the Mario movie? Well, you know, if you get Seth Rogen on there, then you also get his Twitter and his Instagram, where he's also going to market the shit out of your movie. I think that's really why they get these celebrities to do these things. Now, I don't know how big a names these Creature Commandos will be, but that's a pretty big thing of, we've seen spin-off projects where they'll get different actors to play those. In the Batman animated series that was based on the Dark Knight trilogy by Christopher Nolan, there was a movie called Gotham Knights. And they had Kevin Conroy come in and voice Batman. Doesn't sound anything like Christian Bale. And people were like, that's fine. It's an animated movie. This sounds great. They're getting voice actors in here. But this is kind of, I don't agree with this. I do think that they should get voice actors for these roles. I mean, it's going to be tough to hit it 100% with all these live action actors and say, yeah, they're going to be great in the cartoon as well. It's going to be rough. I don't think it's going to go well for them.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I don't know that this is the right deal. This is kind of one of those things where it's, again, James Gunn, man. Like, what are these policies that they're coming up with? This is insane. And there's not a lot of actors that are good on the voice acting and the actual acting. But especially when it comes to live action, you're going to want to get as close as you can to the look that you want with the actor. Like, you need to get as close as you can. You get the best actor that also kind of looks the part. So now you need the best actor that looks the part and then also can act the part without actually seeing them and matching it. Because don't they usually, what they do is they have the voice actors like see the actual animation, so they know what like the scene looks like. So now they're gonna have to try to act that just straight off the voice while looking at the scene. Like, not everybody can do this shit. This shit it's tough, man. It's tough. It's grueling. And I feel like they're doing this as a way to cut cost, or I don't know, because voice actors already get paid less than actual actors. So it's like, are they like going to double up and be like, oh, like you're going to get XYZ type of money doing the voice acting, but then you'll get this role. Like, man, this shit.
It's all tied into the contract, I'm sure.
Yeah. This is weird, but as much as I wouldn't want to agree with Tara Strong on something, she's right. She's right. Like, it's that meme, like the most hated person in the world makes a good point. Like, she made a good point. Like, this is not it. You get the best voice actor for the role. We already know. I agree with Tara Strong on that end, but then I already know if they get the best voice actors for the role, she's gonna be one of them. Fucking Nolan North, right? That's the guy. He'll be one of them. Troy Baker. Yep. Like, they get the same fucking like 5 people. So to be fair, like, she's trying to get a job. Like, let's just keep it real. She's trying to get a job. She probably feels the same way about Harley Quinn. Like, oh, I'm fucking Harley Quinn, and I couldn't even get Harley Quinn because you got the Big Bang Theory girl because she's hot. She's the new hotness. She has pull. People know who she is. They've seen her on TV for 10 years. People don't know who I am. They know my voice, but they don't know who I am.
Right.
And she got a voice acting gig over me, and I'm actually Harley Quinn. Like that. I'm sure that's what she's thinking. And so she's like, I'm losing out on roles because I'm losing out on money if they go this way. But I don't know that they get the best voice actors, because we see the same 10 fuckers get the same jobs over and over and over again.
Yeah, even like I like her, but I think Jennifer Hale ended up voicing Bayonetta, and I was like, there it is, another. She voices everyone, every single person. Another reason to boycott James Gunn and all of his projects and movies. Do it for the voice actors, at the very least. If you needed another reason, do it for the voice actors. Do it for animation. This last news story is once again hope. It continues. We're building up into that last weekend in April. Ink to the People, Zack Snyder, and Jim Lee, comic legend Jim Lee, have launched their campaign called Full Circle to support the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. The charity page features clothing items with designs inspired by the Snyderverse trilogy, and all of the profits are donated to AFSP. This campaign offers a way for fans to show their support for the Snyderverse while also contributing to a worthy cause. This latest design done by Jim Lee is the map of the 5-film arc that he released 2 or 3 years ago. It was his way of telling everyone, like, here's where it starts and here's where it ends. There's a lot of symbols in there that since then has been broken down and figured out by the Exiles Network, I believe. They put it up on their website. Millennial Mike, who's a host on here, and Manu, who's been on before. I mean, they helped put that together and break it all down. And now that Zack had since then said, this is what we were going to do in those last 2 films, we're like, okay, so that's what the sperm means that's coming from Batman's grave into a new baby. That would have been that Lois Lane, Bruce Wayne child. And so Jim Lee was tasked with, or commissioned, however you want to call it. He took that map and he overlaid the characters on top of it to where their symbols normally were on that original one. It's a beautiful piece. I tried to put up as high a version as possible. I tried to upscale it as much as possible based on what was on Ink to the People. I shared it on Twitter. I put it in wallpaper format so that people can put it up as their phones. Adrian actually was talking about how he put it up as his phone wallpaper as well on Instagram. And it's a beautiful piece. Jim Lee gave it to Zack Snyder, his original piece, like hand delivered it to his house. So Zack has the original. Dope. And it's the campaign has already hit over $10,000. That was the goal right there. And Adrian shared it on our Discord before, like it went live, and he's like, Zack hasn't tweeted it out, but this is up now. And I was like, oh shit. So we were all like blasting it until finally Zack, I think the next morning, was like, the campaign's up. And by then it was already at like almost $5,000, I think. And it's still going. Nice. So it's a beautiful shirt. Mine should be coming in within 2 weeks now from today. And I ended up getting 3 of them, 2 mediums, 1 large. And it's just the best one so far, I think. I really like that map one with the 5-film arc, but this one with Jim Lee's artwork, it's beautiful. So if you haven't heard about it, head on over to that Ink to the People. It's under Zack Snyder's account. And you could also donate extra. If you get a shirt, you can, Brian Schaub Mogo Broquette was just pointing out too on Twitter that you can get a shirt and also donate extra if you'd like. So that'll go to AFSP. So great cause, great design. Did you get a chance to check it out yourself?
Yeah, you posted it in the Discord, and I took a look at it. It is a really, really sick piece, man. Like that easily is killer. Having all the characters like that.
And Darkseid in the middle.
Yeah, Darkseid in the middle. Like, yeah, that is incredible, man. Like that could have easily been used as any different type of art. I'm actually on the Into the People site right now and seeing that they already doubled the goal. They're at 24K.
Oh, that shit, nice.
That is a really, really cool shirt. I'm not exactly sure what the back means.
So that's a quote from Cyborg's dad, Silas Stone, where it's the final quote right before they go into the nightmare scene with Joker with Jared Leto.
That just shows how much care of the character that he had with Cyborg. Like all of that shit got cut in the Justice League version, and you could tell it was very important for him to have that for that to be on the back of the shirt. So like it's sick, man. just seeing that with the dark side in the middle, like Aquaman looking just like
Momoa, yeah.
like Momoa, like that is sick. And again, it just sucks that we can't get more.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up because we were talking about voice actors. Ray Porter, who voiced Darkseid, and actually the Exiles Network is another one who broke that originally before the Snyder Cut ever came out, that Ray Porter voiced him. And he was promoting the campaign, and people were like, how's it feel to have you in the middle of there with the Justice League? Like, who would you want to take on first? And he's like, bring them all on. And he also liked that same night, he hadn't tweeted since I think December, and he tweeted this campaign. And he liked a tweet where someone said, Zack is hyping this up like it's the fucking Super Bowl. We're getting Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3. And he liked that tweet. So I don't know if he fucked up. and now
he would like to be Darkseid in Justice League.
Oh, sure. And he would be, of course, he would be. And he'd be right in there. And also, I mean, there's just too many clues in there. Zack recently saying in the interview with the Russo brothers of like, oh, one day we'll see that. Like he was being coy about it because they were like, oh man, they were talking about the Bruce and Lois relationship. And one of the Russo brothers is like, that's the movie I want to see. And Zack goes, one day. And he quickly changes it. So I don't know. There's a lot of weird clues in there of him saying that the Jackie Earl Haley, he put up a BVS art piece and it's done in a Rorschach. And Zack retweeted it with Rorschach knows. And it's just, everyone's being real cryptic about it. Like I said before weeks ago, if this isn't the announcement to more, it'll be a huge blow against the fan base. And Zack knows that. So I think April 30th, they're going to announce the sequels. I don't know if it's live action or not. I hope it is. I think we're getting more, Mace.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Yeah. Hey, we got 2 weeks? I guess we'll find out.
Absolutely. I don't know if I want to do an emergency pod when that happens. I don't know, man. It's going to be insane if it does get restored. If it's an animated project, I probably won't. I'll just cover it the following week. But we're just weeks away. So before we head into the Brocat block, we do have a Patreon comment from Adrian referencing last week's episode. He said, quote, "Great to have Kojay on the show. It's always nice to hear another true Snyderverse fan. I'm over adaptations now. It's always going to be hit or miss, whether live action or animated. If I'm interested, I'll watch it. I'm with Kojay. Mortal Kombat 95 is the best live action Mortal Kombat film. Agreed. There was also a TV series in the late 90s, which I remember being really good. It was Mortal Kombat Conquest, I think. Another really good live action adaptation is Street Fighter's Assassin's Fist, written and directed by Joey Anash. There was a sequel series in the works and greenlit called World Warrior, but something fell through. Supposedly, David Ayer was going to direct one of those episodes. Regarding the Snyderverse, you know me, live action or exile to the Phantom Zone. Hope you and Palpa Kelly and the kids are well. P.S. I know the feeling of fainting seeing blood. I once had 5 vials of blood drawn. After the 5th, I fainted and half the staff were in the room trying to revive me. Fun times, end quote. I'm glad someone could relate with that. For me, I can't even look. I bet you're totally fine with blood drawn in vaccines, aren't you?
Yeah, for the most part. I have to look away, but once I look away initially, I can look back and I'll be fine for the most.
That doesn't surprise me for some reason. Like, I just feel like you'd be just like you are at work or out and about, just chill. Like, yeah, take the blood.
Yeah, like, come on, hurry this up, man. Got shit to do.
Exactly.
I don't know about that Street Fighter adaptation. I was not a fan. I do agree with Mortal Kombat 95. And reading this just reminded me, like, when the fuck is that second one? That new Mortal Kombat? When's the second one supposed to come out with that?
I think they're filming now. No, they're filming now, from what I understand. And like Johnny Cage is one of the main characters in it. I'm not seeing it, man. I didn't like the new one.
Yeah, if it pops up on Max, maybe I might watch it. But yeah, I'm not going to I didn't even watch the first one in the movie theaters. I'm definitely not gonna go watch this one.
That MK95 is good though. Like, I will say that it's not just a good adaptation. I'm now standing as I did like when I rewatched it a year ago. I'm like, it's just a legitimate good film. I'm with it. Like, I like it. And I think for the Street Fighter adaptation, he was talking about Assassin's Fist, which I've heard of, but I've never seen it. I'm sure it's better than that one with Kylie Minogue that we grew up with.
Oh yeah, it is. It's still not good though.
Oh, really? Okay, so you've seen Assassin's Fist.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let me not pass judgment. I only watched like 20 minutes of it, but it
Okay,
was pretty bad. It was. I had to turn it off.
gotcha. Well, I do got to ask you then. We've had enough video game adaptations, and we just had the Mario Brothers adaptation. I mean, we've also seen Silent Hill, the Resident Evil films. Do you have a favorite movie adaptation based on a game?
Hmm. It would probably be. I would say the three would be Mortal Kombat. I don't. This not in an order. I would say
Mhm.
the Mortal Kombat 95. Mortal Kombat 95. I would say Detective Pikachu,
Mhm.
and then I would go with that or first Super Mario Bros. Like that shit is fucking hilarious, man. Like,
You talking about this
it's
one that
just
just came
funny.
out?
No, the
Oh,
the
the older one.
original,
Oh
like
shit.
the old one. Like that shit is just funny. It's terrible, but it's funny.
All
Just
right.
if you know the games, like seeing what they did with the IP is fucking hilarious. It's like The Room for me. That's my Room,
Man,
the
it went
original Super. I could go watch that back, just seeing the fucking Goomba, and I'm gonna start crying.
it went up the charts on iTunes. I know that. Like it hit up to number 1 because everyone was like, "Let's go see that really old shitty one." I bet you even families were like, "Hey kids, you know there was one really a long time ago. I'm going to show you that." Just a
Oh yeah, that's nightmare
bad movie
fuel for
night.
kids. So that's a 5-year-old. They're having nightmares.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I remember liking it as a kid though, but I don't think I was 5. I was probably a little bit older when I first saw it. I've talked about my favorites in the past, but I do want to give an honorable mention to the Phoenix Wright movie. That one came out in Japan only. My buddy Jimmy, he was able to find me a copy through Methods, and I was able to watch it, and it's fucking good. Like it's like the first 3 cases, I think, from the first game, and it's done well. They have the crazy hair, just like in the fucking game. It's good stuff, man. So if you're able to find the copy of Phoenix Wright and you're a fan of the games, it's a straight adaptation. It's real good.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Lawyer courtroom type shows and movies are pretty good. So, and that game is mostly based off of the story being well. It's not so much the gameplay, but the story. So, I could see that being pretty entertaining.
So thank you again, Adrian, for your comment on Patreon. Always appreciate those. Let's head into the final segment of today's show, the Broket Block, which is what Macio and I have been up to since you last heard us, what we've been playing, reading, watching, or what's been making us broke. So kick it off, Macio. What have you been up to since you were last on?
Mostly just well, I was on vacation for the past week, not last week, but the week prior.
Oh, the same week I was gone.
Yeah, the same week you were out, I was out for about practically a week, just not on the same week. So I was off 2 days, and then off 1 week, and then the beginning of 2 days on the other week. All of last week was just catching up with all the shit that was not done or could not be done by anybody but me at work. So
I know that feeling.
Pretty much spent all those days catching up all the way up until Friday. I finally caught up for the most part, and then I just got piled on with a whole bunch of more shit. But that's been work. When it comes to games, it's just been Fortnite. Got back on Back for Blood a little bit. I played a little bit of Wolong's Dynasty and got my ass smacked up, and I haven't been back on it since. But I am looking forward to Redfall. Maybe that's probably going to take the place of Back for Blood, just a co-op game that me and my wife can play. Maybe a couple of my friends can play when I'm not trying to play Fortnite. Because after a while, the game does get kind of tiring. It does wear on you when you're not playing well, or when they update the game and they break something, and then you're like, "Fuck, I want to play something else," but you don't have anything else to play. So hopefully, Redfall comes out. It's good. So I'll have something else new to play. But that's been pretty much it. Now I know your hands been super full, man. Like I was expecting you to miss a lot more days of work. Then when I came back and I found out that you were already back, I was like, damn.
Man, time without pay is rough.
yeah, I know, man. I know. That shit hurts, dude. It fucking hurts. It's annoying. It's annoying on my end when people get on it. So.
Oh, okay. For other reasons, I'm sure.
Yeah. So I'm sure like when you came out, I was like, oh damn. Well, that low key it made my job a little bit easier. So
Yeah, I mean,
I know you've been kicking ass, super dad mode.
yeah, it's been an experience because we've gone through it once with Leo. We've still learned we retained a lot of the lessons that we learned with Leo the first time. So there's aspects of it that are a lot easier. I would say that overall, this time around it's easier than with Leo and in all aspects. Like I'm sure Leo would have also been, I don't know, I can't even compare like how often they would get up or cry or anything like that, but because we have a sense already of like, okay, it's one of three things. They need to burp, they're tired, they need their diaper changed, they're hungry. Like it's one of those four things. And as soon as you go down the list, usually the most often one is for her, it's the diaper and hunger. Like if her diaper is just a tiny bit soiled, like she fucking freaks out. And Leo was the same way for the most part until he got a little bit older. Then, we could wait a little bit, but no, she's not comfortable unless she's fully clean. So that's one thing that it's like, all right, once we go through that, she's down. Kelly's been taking time off from work and Leo's been in school. So that's been a positive because then she can focus just on the baby, nap when the baby naps, or take care of things that she needs to take care of. She's still been checking in on her work computer and finding some stuff in there. She's already gotten calls from her manager, even though she was supposed to be left alone. But she gets calls like, hey, what's up with this? Stuff that they need to ask her about because someone else is running the store. So she's been going through it as well. But again, she's also mentioned that it's felt more routine this time around, which is good. But we're both like still at 100%. Like this is the last one, and I've got a doctor's appointment that's gonna make sure of that.
Oh, nice, nice.
That's the summer.
And if you feel like reversing it, it's pretty easy for the reversal.
I heard it's tougher actually. I heard it's like you better make sure you really want to not do this because the reversal I heard is a lot harder and more expensive, more painful.
Oh, no pain, no gain. But that was the whole reason I was on my vacation was to visit my sister, and because she just recently had a baby, her first.
Oh, cool!
First daughter. So that's why I was, and I was frankly amazed at how like dialed in she was. Like, if somebody would have told me that my sister had like another child that I just didn't know about, because she was just on it. Like, it was weird because maybe my dad's just a soft sleeper, but he was there for the first 2 months and he said the baby kept him up. I didn't wake up a single time during the night while I was sleeping over there. Like 4 days, not a single time. Like I honestly, I barely heard her cry. Like if she cried, it was just for a split second. Like my sister just instantly knew like, oh, it's this, oh, it's that. And she was on it, getting her to stop crying quickly. Like when she first came in and greeted us at the door, and she didn't look like she was tired at all. I was like, man,
that's crazy.
I looked at Kyle, our boss, and he's just going through it. He's dead tired every day, and she's just awake. Like, I don't know how she did it, but she just knows when she knows like, oh, like y'all go ahead and go out and go see the city because she needs a nap and I gotta sleep. And then she meet us out there and she's completely fine, 100% refreshed, like interacting with us, engaged in what we're doing. I'm just like, hey, I had to stop. I'm like, ow, like, what are y'all doing? And she's just like, I got it dialed in. Like, I know exactly. We got it in 2-hour blocks. We know when she's gonna eat. Like just on it, just instantly on it. Like even when she was like, oh, hey, Macio, can you feed her real quick? And I'm like, yeah, I'm feeding her. And I'm feeding her, then I'm playing with her. And then it's instantly like, I go and maybe I go look at my wife. I talk for a couple minutes. And then she's like, my wife's like, look, and baby's just knocked out sleeping. I'm like, what? And then my sister's like, yeah, she's supposed to go to sleep. So it was funny how like those 4 days, like I felt like I wasn't really doing shit. But then at the end, my sister was like, yo, thank you for you know, you guys being here allowed me to get that extra shower, that extra sleep, that extra, I'm like, extra what? I felt like I would, like, I fed her a couple of times and, you know, burped her this time, or maybe I played with her while you cleaned her bottles. Like, I felt like I didn't do shit, but like just those extra like 5 or 10 minutes I might have given her out of the day was like everything. And she was like, yeah, man, you know, hopefully you guys come back. I want you to see her. I want you to, she sees her uncles and her aunts. So it's cool, man. Like seeing babies grow up. I don't know that I want to have one, but it's cool seeing it.
Yeah, those are a big deal, man, because like even before I recorded, before I do anything, especially if I got home from work or whatever, I'll ask Kelly, like, what do you need? Is there anything I can help you with? Because usually there is. And right before the recording, she's like, can you hold her while I go use the restroom? Like, imagine that. Like, that stuff is a big deal. It's huge because we can't, she's so little. If I'm by myself, I almost don't trust, you know, just putting her down and going to use the restroom or whatever. I know we've got dogs around and they're friendly, but it's that weird paranoid parental mind where you come up with all these what ifs. So
yeah.
You were a huge help, I'm sure. All those little things are huge when you don't have them. You know, when you don't have all that help, and that stuff can really help you out a lot. So yeah, I totally get where she's coming from.
Yeah, and she had her first bout of separation anxiety too when we went to dinner and she left the baby for like, I think we were gone. We went to dinner and we went to a comedy show. We were probably gone for like 4 hours. And like while we were at dinner, she got a text from her sister-in-law that was watching her daughter, and she sent her a picture, and then she just started crying. She's like, I'm a bad mom. I left my baby. And we're like, yo, like relax. Like she's like, no, I should have stayed home. Da 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 da. But then she, you know, got over it. After like 20 minutes, everybody consoled her. She was like, nah, you know, it's the separation anxiety. So it was just funny. Like instantly, as soon as she was good for like an hour, but then once someone sent her that picture, she just lost it.
Well, if she has a second one, that shit will be no problem with the second one. Like we dropped Sophia off for the first time at my parents' while we went out and got dinner. And yeah, it was much easier. Like I remember with Leo, it'd be like, oh, I wonder if he's okay or all that. But now it's like, yeah, I'm sure they're having fun. Yeah, it's very different. Is this your first time being an uncle, or do you have other nephews?
I have a niece and nephew from my brother.
Okay.
When they were babies, like we didn't get to see them like that.
Oh,
it was
gotcha.
Like very seldom, and they would never like I never got to feed my niece or my nephew. I think one time maybe my brother was like, oh, you want to change your diaper? I was like, nah, I'm good. That was about as close as I got. But other than that, like we seen them, but it was always like with them around. They never was like, yo, can you? It was like yeah, you can hold her. You want to pick her up? You want to hold her? But it wasn't like, yo, like feed her. Yo, like can you do this? And so it was definitely a much different experience. And my sister even said like she wants us to be more hands-on if we can when we're around, because she felt like she missed those opportunities with my niece, because they lived together when my niece was first born from my brother. They were living together, and she even felt like, you know, when they would go out, they wouldn't even let me babysit. They would bring her somewhere else. They would give her to somebody else instead, and I'm in the house right there, like saying, oh, I'll babysit, and they still wouldn't give it to me. So she wants her daughter to have that experience with the uncles and her nieces, like, and her nephews and her cousins, to be like around them when they're young.
Yeah, that's good that you have that where they want you to be a part of that, because it helps them out. I can see it with Leo when he sees my brother and sister or Kelly's brother, and you know, it's another friend for him to play with. Like, you know, they can be that fun. They're not a brother, they're not a sibling, they're not a parent, so they just have fun with him. And he likes that, and he needs that. I know when Sophia was born, he's kind of still realizing that he's still under the impression that she's just going to be, you know, old enough to play with soon. Like he's excited for that. Like, oh, I want to play with her. And I don't think he yet realizes that it's going to be a few years before she's able to sort of play with him, you know?
Yeah.
And so that kind of hurts a little bit, but at the same time, you know, we're lucky that he has uncles and my sister that are willing to play with him, show him dinosaur stuff. Kelly's brother shows him this dinosaur game on his computer that he loves. And my brother and sister are constantly spoiling him with dino stuff. So it's like, we don't have to buy shit hardly. Because it's like, all right, well, that's them. They want to give you that. That's on them. Yeah, it's a good thing, man. If you're able to be a part of that more often, take it. That's really good to hear. But that about wraps it up, man. A lot of good stuff, a lot of family talk this week. And I want to thank you, Macio, for sharing that with us. And also, please let them know where they can find you.
You can find me on the Discord. Normally, I would plug my Twitter here, but keep it G real. I don't really be on it like that no more. So
yeah, you had mentioned that last time.
Yeah, like
Elon's thing.
It's every day. Every day, it's something that makes me not want to go on there more and more. Whether it's whatever he's doing, the algorithm is garbage. My following page has been broken somehow. Like I don't see even on my following page, I don't see people that I'm following's tweets. At this point, I'm like checking it like once a day when I used to be like on it like 5, 7, 10, 20 times a day. Like, I used to just scroll the shit out of my Twitter and check on what people are saying. But nowadays I'm on that shit. Like I check that shit like Facebook. Like I check my Facebook like once a week. Like I'm on Twitter like once a day now. Like it's barely even a thing. And that was my most used social media. So you might just catch me on the Discord way more. So tag me in on Discord if you want to talk some shit, talk about Xbox stuff, Fortnite, sports. I'm heavy in on the NFL, whatever, man.
Awesome. And there will be links to our Discord in the description of today's show. And this week, if you want to be heard on the podcast, there's a link in the description also to speakpipe.com/thereasonsimmbroke. You can send in a voicemail, 90 seconds or less. If it's a question, a comment, whatever it is, it'll show up in our inbox, and we may play it on next week's show. So thank you again, Macio, for helping us host this week. I've been Daniel, joined by Macio, and Brokehead Core. All will be well. I was really close to pulling the trigger on an Xbox Series S at Target a few weeks ago. And obviously I have we had at the time, I'm like, oh, the baby's around the corner. Like this would be dumb because I'm never going to play it. But in the next year, would I be better off waiting on whatever new thing? Is there any talk or rumor of a new system that Microsoft might put out, whether it's a more powerful Series S or a straight up new console that I should wait on instead? And my whole intention is just to do Game Pass. I'm not worried about physical games.
I would say you might as well just go ahead and keep waiting. If you got the baby, you're busy, you're working, like I would kind of hold off. On Xbox side, there's no rumors. Right now, all the rumors are on Sony side that they're coming out with the upgraded version of their PS5. So I would wait it out. There's no reason for you to bother because I don't know that either the Series S is just going to get that much cheaper, or maybe they come out with the upgraded version of the Series X and then the Series X becomes the Series S, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And then you just have a more powerful, you'll have the Series X at a cheaper price point. So that's my thought process with it. Like it probably makes sense to just hold off and wait 2024. At that point, we would be at 4 years, I think, if my math is right. I believe the Series X came out in 2020, if I remember correctly. So if that's the case, that's 4 years. Normally, we're at a 6-year cycle. I know with the Xbox 360, it was like 8 years. Xbox One was 7. So if we're going for a 6 or 7 year cycle, we're looking at more powerful machines next year. I know COVID kind of fucked everything up, so that might push everything back a little bit. But yeah, I would say by 2024, if we don't hear anything around what was formerly known as E3,
I was just gonna say.
Yeah, if we don't hear anything around there, then you're safe to go ahead and buy one. But the thing about waiting is that you'll continue to wait. So if you think that you can get any use out of the console when you buy it, then you should just go ahead and buy it. Like I felt like I got the Series X on launch, and I fully have gotten every single dollar out of that machine.
Good.
By buying it at launch. That was the first console that I ever bought at launch. So I felt like I got the full experience, and waiting, I don't know that it would have been better or worse if I would have waited.
Oh, that's great. You picked a good console to pick up at launch, and you got the full Microsoft's Xbox experience. As you said, you got your money's worth. Of course you did. It's a great system. I don't even have one, and I'm saying it's a great system. What's that say about it?